right. Welcome back to the Profiting from Your Passion podcast. Today I'm really excited about my guest. I was sitting in this chair just a few weeks ago, and I was hearing him talk to the people around him and watching him interact with the staff. And I knew I got to get Andre on Profiting from Your Passion because he has a passion about being a businessman, about being a barber, I don't know if you can see him on the screen, but he's got all kind of Saints and Alabama. We won't hold that too much against him. Alabama paraphernalia up here. And Andre's he's got a lot of passion. But we talked a little bit, and every single one of them pays him back tenfold, 20-fold sometimes. So that's what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to welcome AndreG at AndreG's BarberShop. And Andre, why don't you tell them a little about who you are and what you got going here?
How you doing, guys? I'm AndreG. And, it's my barbershop. I've been cutting hair now. Let's say July 12th should be right about 31 years I've been cutting hair. And people always tell me there's no way because you're not that old. Well, I got my apprenticeship license when I was right about 15, which was probably a no-no, but my instructor was a good friend of mine. He'd been training me since I was 11 years old. So, the passion of cutting hair, this is not even for the money. This is for the joy of actually making you look better.
Andre, it's I told somebody I was going to come do this with you, and they said, he's passionate about cutting hair?
Absolutely.
So how does that come about?
Well, cutting hair is one thing, but making the person feel comfortable and making them feel good about themselves is another. And if I can make that change in their life, make that day a better place, a better day, then I'm doing my job. It don't come down to how much money I got in my pocket. It's about the actual excitement they are and how good I make them feel at the end of the day.
But you are paying the bills at least.
Oh, bills always gonna be done. It's always gonna be taken care of. Paying the bills is the least of my concern because I wouldn't have gotten into this business if I couldn't.
So you said something about the change.
Yes, sir.
So was this always your thought when you started from young, or is that something that you learned to have a passion for?
Well, naturally, when you first start cutting hair, for a child's mind, they always want to make sure they get into it to make money. But after the years of cutting hair, you realize that it's truly not about the money, and you learn that the money's going to be there. So, make a long story short, it's what you also get out of it, besides the fact that the material point of money. So
yeah, like I said earlier, watching you with the other people, I watch you with your employees, and this chair behind me is where Andre always has his youngest new barber.
Right, the
rookies, and I watch him, and when a customer comes in, he asks the barber, what are you doing? What kind of cut you giving them? And he'll question him 1 or 2 questions, depending on how much of a rookie they are. He'll question them and make sure that they on the right path. And every once in a while, he'll tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hold on, Mr. Dave," and he'll check and make sure that they're meeting that right. So tell me what that means to you, working with those young people, getting them in a place to be successful.
Well, the thing is, when you cutting hair, you can just get in there and start cutting. And I've seen some guys get in there and they don't even know what they're striving towards. They get in there and just start cutting. And at the end of the haircut, then the client and themselves, they both excited and they both surprised at the end of it. That's not how it works. What you're supposed to do is you go in there with a game plan. You look at the person's hair, you know what they want to do. So you come up with an image, you come up with a finished product in your hair. You come up with a finished product in your mind, and then you present it, and you come out with that finished product. You don't go in there clueless, and you cut until that finished product comes out. You already know how it's supposed to come out in your mind.
Yeah, man, that's awesome because I didn't know remodeling and haircutting had so much in common.
Same thing.
It's life, ain't it? Like how many is at a young age, we look at life and we think we know how it's going to turn out.
That's not how it does.
And we just barge in.
If that's the case, you're going at it the whole wrong way, man. You know, you got to have a finished product in your mind and you work towards that goal. And, you know, like before I'm cutting your hair, I know what you want.
Right.
So I put it in my mind, what I'm striving towards getting. And you start from one point, you do the basics, and you come down and you finish that finished product. And,
man, I think there's a whole book in there on just haircutting and living life, maturing.
Well, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, one of the other things I've seen you do is with some of the young kids that come in here, you know, young boys, people bring them in. I know I bring in my boys, you know, it's a man's barbershop.
Correct.
And they come in and it's a little different atmosphere than other places to go. You know, and I'm not mentioning this as a whole sales thing for you. I'm mentioning more of just I love seeing the way you interact with some of those kids, including mine.
Well,
and what does that stuff mean to you?
You gotta understand, when these kids come in here, first of all, the newbies, they don't know who I am. I'm an older man that's getting in their hair. I'm not young and hip besides all these crazy tattoos, but the simple fact, you gotta make the kid comfortable. You know, because you got this strange man coming in, especially the infants. You got this strange man coming in with some items that's gonna cut their hair and they're afraid it's gonna cut their skin or hurt them. And you gotta get on a level to where they're comfortable. You know, I got TVs and stuff. I'll put on cartoons and I tell them, look, just watch the cartoons. Don't worry about me. I said, look, I promise you. You know, I'll grab them and say, I'll grab your hand. I grab the kid and I say, hey, look, feel that. I said, it won't hurt you. I said, you know, that's what you're gonna feel the whole time. That's what you're gonna feel in your skin. And it calms them down. You know, you come out there with some shears and you tell them, look, don't worry, I'm not gonna hurt you. But it's simple like that. Anytime you got a kid in a chair, the first thing they know is that you're cutting their hair. And then they hear the loud noise and they don't know, I'm gonna leave there looking like Freddy Krueger got me. Can't do that. You know, you gotta make the kid comfortable, brother.
So you had people in your life that helped make you comfortable when you were growing up?
Well, you gotta understand, I mean, my instructor's been training me since I was a child. And I've watched him. And I've learned from him the different things that you say, the way you interact with different people. I mean, from children to grown adults, you know, a man that's in his late 50s, late 60s, even the ones that's in their 70s. The people in their 70s, that's a whole different ballgame because the older people will tell you exactly what's on their mind, whether they like it or not. They don't
you want to know it or not.
Right, you know, and some things they say, I mean, being that they're old school, they're going to say some things that, ooh, whoa, slow down. But you gotta let it go because that's not their intention. They're comfortable, so they talk to you as if you're their friend. And if they're comfortable enough to talk to you, they're gonna say what they gotta say, which as long as it's proper, you know. But no one over there crosses over that barrier. But other than that, I love the fact of what I'm doing because even at my age, at soon to be 45, I'm still learning.
You say that like that's old. Come on now.
Oh, well, I mean, I know you're 73.
So, all right.
You know, but no, I listen. That's one of the keys that you have to learn that you don't know everything. And if these older people that's coming in here can teach you, your job is to shut up and listen. Because you can always learn something. You never stop learning. And that's another gift that I'm getting, that not only I'm making money doing this, but I'm actually learning how to mature and be more of a man. And some people don't look at it that way. You know, a lot of these youngsters, what they call the millennials, they think they got it figured out. And boy, they only knew.
They only knew.
They only knew.
Yeah, sadly, sometimes, I have to use the analogy, sometimes they got to get halfway through the haircut and realize they're not going towards their vision at all.
That's right.
Because they didn't take time to think about it, figure it out, and
That's right.
and look at reality. You know, it's see, I'm still like that around the ears. I'm always thinking when you're around my ears, no matter what.
Well,
You've never done it, but I've had them clipped a couple of times.
well, I'm not finished yet, but
I ain't saying that. I ain't saying that.
But no.
But you know what? When I come in here, there's always a different group of people, right? And like you said, there's older people, there's younger people, everything else. So is there anything off limits to talk about in the barbershop?
Like I said, in the barbershop, you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful talking about. You gotta be careful about talking about race, because there's different backgrounds that come here, white, black. It doesn't matter. You know, I don't see any color. The only color I see is green. You know, but some people come in here and they start throwing these words around, and you got to stop and say, "Oh, hold on! I wouldn't want you to insult someone else that's in here that's trying to be at their comfort level and relax and get a haircut, because this might be the only time of their day when they're working all day where they get to relax."
Yeah. So
if they're hearing something that's going to make them uncomfortable, it might be the last time they walk into your shop. So you can't be that way. You know, the other thing that you got to be careful of, naturally, politics.
Yeah.
You know, barbershop's supposed to be a spot where you can say whatever you want to say. But in this day and age, you walking on thin ice. You gotta be careful.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Well, and as the owner, you got to manage some of that, right? You got to set the standard.
That's the thing. Hey, this is my place. You know, I've heard so many times people, throwing around vulgarity. Which, we all men, we may say some things that we shouldn't say, but you got to think about it. That there's a time and place for everything. You got to be careful about religion. You got to be practicing. Watch how you say things about politics, because nobody's going to always agree on everything the same way. But like I said, everything's good. I mean, you learn when and when not to see things. And every once in a while, you're going to get this loudmouth person in here that's going to just get in here and he got diarrhea in the mouth. And as a business owner, you got to get upset and go, "Hey, give me 1 second, I'll be right back." And I got to go and handle it. Say, "Look, if you don't mind, for the sake of my business, I need you to just be careful and watch what you say."
Yeah.
And some people are like, "I cannot believe you're telling me that." You can't respect my askings. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. That's professionalism.
And I've had some people talk down to people that I had working on their house.
Right.
And look, it's their house. I get it. But
Right.
at the same time, I've had to go in and demand that they give them the same respect they'd give me if I was there.
That's right.
And you know what? And if you can't, then all right, I'll take my business elsewhere.
That's right.
You know.
I love money. I love money does make the world go round, but not all money is good money.
Right.
Sometimes you may be put in a spot where you're uncomfortable, and you can't. You know just as well as I do. You can't do your job if you're uncomfortable. It's not going to come out right. I'm human, and I just want to be as comfortable as possible, and I like to stay as happy as I can. So
hey, give me 1 second.
Go ahead.
Hey, Dre, so tell me, I know you got a huge passion for the Saints.
Yes, sir.
So, I find that is normally we talk about work stuff or being of service, and this is a passion, you have. How does that passion pay off for you? Because I know you wouldn't spend as much time and energy and emotion around it if it was just a matter of you just giving to it. How does it give it back to you?
As far as the sense, I'm not understanding. What do you mean?
I mean, like you're being a fan of something.
Correct.
And being invested in that, going to games, being, making sure you don't miss, doing that. What is it that you get out of doing that makes it worth putting all that emotion into it?
Well, to be honest with you, it's a great conversation piece, especially in the barbershop.
Right.
And the majority of people in Louisiana are Saints fans, and I got good situations with the Saints, and I find out good info what's going on there. So it's good. It's a great conversation piece, you know. And I get pretty caught up in my team, and I know other people in Louisiana get caught up in their team. But you know, you see all my Alabama stuff.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm really an Alabama fan. You know,
Yeah, you are.
I'm a Nick Saban fan.
Okay.
And when Nick Saban was at LSU, I had season tickets at LSU. You know, when Nick Saban left, he went into the NFL. We all know that he's not an NFL coach. You know, at least he wasn't for that time being. But when he left, I looked at my wife and I said, "Well, roll tide." And she's like, I don't know if I'm going to look good in crimson." I said, "You're going to look good in whatever you put on. So roll tide." And now my wife, my daughter, and I roll tide. So, you know, a lot of people, and it's great because people come in here from Louisiana. They know the rivalry between LSU and Alabama. And it got to go on and on, back and forth, back and forth. And I hear that the last few years when LSU was phenomenal.
Right.
Oh, I had to eat it.
Oh, yeah.
I had to eat
Oh, yeah.
it. But I tell people over and over again, you can tell me what you want. If you look at Nick Saban and you can't tell me he's not one of the greatest, if not the greatest college coach you've ever seen. You know, it's like this. If he was your coach for your team, you had nothing bad to say about it.
Right. Right.
So, but now, like I said, I'm a fan of good coaching, and you know, you look at my other stuff. I'm a Duke Blue Devil, and Mike Krzyzewski just announced that he's going to be retiring next year.
Yeah.
And I mean,
That sucks.
That hurt me. But I mean, after 40 plus years of doing this, you got to come to a close at one point. But you know, not only is, you know, like I said, I'm a Saints fan, and I got lucky. I mean, Sean Payton, he can't lie there either.
Right.
He's a mastermind. You know, so, and the crazy thing is with me, I like to take what these coaches gave me, and I like to use it in the same way that I run my shop. You know, a lot of my employees that come in here, I let them know that I love you, I love what you're doing, but at the end of it, we're not here to be friends. You know,
Yep.
This is my shop. I'm the boss. You're my employee. I need you to do what I ask you. You know, because I'm not going to do anything that's going to hurt you. If anything, I'm going to do. All I'm trying to do is help you. But I don't want you coming here and you're going to do your thing your way. It just does not work. You know, there's a lot of people that come in and they think they got it figured out. You know, and
Yeah, I run into a lot of people that they come in day one, they're training, well, by day three, they think they ought to be able to run the place.
well, it's like, you know, I'm looking for a job. What job are you looking for? I'd like to have your job.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how much experience you got? I started 2 weeks ago. No. It's not like that. You know, too many people want to get in there and do what you do their way, but they didn't put in the time.
You know, I've taken a John Maxwell coaching series and leadership series stuff, and one of the things he talks about is some young guy came to him and that's what he told him. He said, "I want to do what you do." He said, "You know, son, that's great, but are you willing to do what I did?"
Correct. You know,
that's what it takes.
You know, don't talk about my glory until you hear my story. That's something I live by. You know, in fact, one of my great friends gave me that. Mr. Tripp gave me that night. He's very successful. Now I used to tell him, "Man, you got this, that, and the other." He's like, "Hold on, Dre. Don't talk about my glory until you hear my story." And that's so very true.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like it. I may have to steal it.
Well, it's gonna cost you.
It's gonna cost you. It's gonna cost you, Mr. Tripp.
But you know, what I do, you know, I love what I do. You know, I've been doing this my entire life, and there's so many different ways to skin a cat, and the way I train people is the same way my instructor trained me. You know, what I just did in your hair, I freehand the whole thing. That's not done anymore. People don't freehand things. They slap a guard on it and they just go at it. And like I said earlier, at the end of the cut, we all surprised on how it came out.
Right.
You know, when you freehand things, this is my guard. I know how deep I need to go in. I know how I'm going to manipulate it, maneuver it to make it happen. So, you know, a lot of that, you need to have confidence in yourself and know what you're doing in order to make the product come out the way you want it to.
You know, that's for us in remodeling. That's a big part of it. Is that
Absolutely.
in new construction, you have this plan and you can pretty much go in detail by the plan. In renovations, you have a plan, then you open the wall and go, well, what the hell is that?
That's right.
And you gotta be able to, you know, understand where you're going and be able to find the best road to get there.
Correct.
So Dre, I know you've been through a lot in your life, you know, just different things. You were in a car accident, took you through a lot. You've been through different struggles. You know, if you're talking to the young man out there that yeah, one day wants to have his own business, be it a barber, be it anything, or whatever, also wants to be a family man, you know, and those things that, you know, somebody would see in you and go, I want what that guy has. What advice you got for them to maybe not hit the same potholes you did? He can begin to profit off of his life in different ways, you know.
Well, you know, I'm not ashamed to say in my life, you know, I've been through an extremely bad accident. 2007, I went to pick up one of my buddies that had been drinking too much, he couldn't drive. I left my family and I went to pick him up to bring him home. And man, I brought him home, I did my good deed. But once we got home, he lived with his uncle and they argued about why he messed up, he couldn't drive his own vehicle home. Yada, yada, yada. I don't want to make a long story short. My buddy wanted coming home with me, and I knew that wasn't going to be a good turnout. But I took him home, took him to my home at least, and we never got home. They were doing road construction on a road that I didn't know about, and I wound up totaling my car, and my buddy passed away. And make a long story short, it wasn't looking very good for me, but it came out, they found out the reasoning behind it all, and I was spared. And you know, to talk about all that, the simple fact that they thought I was drinking and driving, which I was not. That's one thing I'm trying to push on kids that, you know, yeah, at one point in my life, I did drink. I so happened not to be that night, but I realized that alcohol never did any justice for me besides negativity. And a lot of these kids today, they go and they talk about their prom and their parties and this, that, and the other. And I'll make sure that they understand that there's a time and place for everything. And you know, if you want success, like I said, there's a time and place for everything. It's important that you get your mind right first before you get to the next level. And these kids today, they want to do what the adults do, and they want to drink and cut up and party and stuff. And in reality, their minds are fragile, and it's not really cool. You know, they need to get their ducks in a row before they can make these adult decisions. And I learned the hard way. You know, my daughter's 15, about to be 16, and I'm sitting there telling myself, you know, I've been drinking my whole life. And at one point I said, you know, what's not fitting in my life? And I realized that being in the state of Louisiana, we celebrate for everything. You know, we have a.
And there's a good thing about that, right?
But not everyone is the same person.
Right.
You know, I was the kind of person that I can't go and have one or two, three drinks and be done. I had to have one or two or three fifths. And you know, some people have the power to be able to control it, and others don't. You know, and
So you're not drinking now?
I'm happy to say, as of right now, I'm 6 months sober.
All right. And how's that paying off for you?
You know, the first month to 2 months of my sobriety was horrible. Horrible. Oh God. What they call it? You got the DTs and stuff, and, I'm cutting hair like this. You know, like got the shakes in it. But you know, the thing is, after you get past through that, you realize what I'm upset the most. Now that I'm sober, my daughter's about to be 16. My entire life, I never saw life for what it's worth. You know, this past Mother's Day, I went to my mother and father's home, and it was the first time that my mother actually had her son at the house that was sober. And to see the look on their face was enough for me to where I don't need the alcohol anymore. You know, my daughter finally gets to have her father back. And my wife and I have been married now. It's going to be September 24th. It's going to be 22 years. But now I'm the man my wife fell in love with. And all of that is just, words can explain how much that is worth more than the alcohol that I had before.
Right.
You know.
You know, look, as you know, some people listening might not know, I'm sober too, since 1988, right? Near-death experience myself, and you know, and it's just amazing, you know, the alcohol, the drugs, whatever I did, it numbed things I wanted to numb. Problem is, it numbed everything.
That's right.
Right.
And it numbs the things that you don't really want to numb.
Right.
And it numbs the things that you should not ever know. Yeah. Like the compassion and love that you got for your family. My child is now about to be 16. All those young years are gone that I cannot get back.
Much less your fellow man.
That's exactly
right.
I mean,
yeah. I hear you. You know, it's as a parent, I've got older kids and younger kids, and you know, you want to take away the hurt and the pain, and you want to, and I've learned that the best thing for me, one of the profits from my suffering, has been to understand that my kids will have to suffer in their life, but that it's not my job to keep them from suffering. It's my job to prepare them to act and react properly to whatever comes their way.
That's right. You know, it's important to let them know that part of living and part of growing is some negative consequences. And a lot of the negative things, you got to make them understand that turn those negative things into stepping stones that we can learn from. Because if we're not learning, then we're not growing. And man, it's just, what a shame that I have to finally learn this at 44, 45 years old, that I'm finally getting it. You know?
Yeah. But Dre, you and I both know people that are much older than that.
Still ain't got it.
It still ain't even close.
No. But the thing is, you got to open that door and want to learn.
Nobody else can open it for you.
Yeah, that's right. You got to want to learn. You got to want to get better. Because so what I look at is that these people are giving themselves what we call the glass ceiling.
Yeah.
Where you can only learn so much to where that glass ceiling is stopping you from going forward.
Just like the tree. If you ain't growing, you're dying.
That's it, brother.
No matter how old you are, you can always keep growing.
That's right.
I may not get taller. I get wider.
Oh, we all do that. Absolutely.
Try to get my mind.
Yeah, but.
So, I tell you what, we're getting real close on time. So let me close this thing out real quick. You got any other things you think you'd like to say? Or?
Well, the thing is, like I told you earlier, that a lot of people, you gotta be careful in the barbershop when you talk about politics and religion. But to go back on religion, if I didn't have God in my life, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. You know, I'm not saying that you have to be the overly religious person, but it's important that you believe that there is a higher power. You know, like
So,
the accident I got into, there's no way I would have made this if there wasn't a higher power. So,
it's for me, that's where the learning to live the faith versus just walking around trying to, vomit it on people.
right.
Learning to live the faith is where that comes. Because we've never talked about it, but I know without a doubt, people ask you, dude, help me be where you are, and not meaning be the boss of the business, but be where you are in life, just with your faith, with
Spiritually.
yeah.
But you, as well as I, we know that you can tell somebody all day long, but if they're not willing to,
Yeah.
they're gonna live in misery. I mean, or misery, or just still lost,
Right.
Clueless.
Yeah, and I think our best example of doing it though is showing, not just telling.
That's right.
There we go. All right. So look, Drake,
Yes, sir.
thank you very much. No, I don't want to. I hate to turn to the camera like this for the last view here, but before you got it done, for those listening on the podcast, we may be showing a recording this at some point, so stay tuned. Also, one of the things that I'll be doing is some of the people that we've had on recently, going to ask them to come back and do like a little round table and us have a conversation, just a conversation, a group of men talking about the ways that, they profit from their passions. Some of that being spiritual, some of that being in money, some of that being in just the good feeling of being a service, and kind of getting some back and forth, and hopefully some laughs, and also, willing to be shallow and deep. So y'all look forward to that. We'll see you next time on the Winners Institute blog and Profiting from Your Passion podcast. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Let me record this real quick. Stop.